3 million units sold, 96% of PC players dropping out, and a loss of $48 million. That is just the beginning of Marvel's Avengers problems, poor reception in general, many difficult to avoid game-breaking bugs, and repetitive mission cycle. The game has had it rough. Rightfully so, but I have faith in Crystal Dynamics. My review of the game may not be ready as I want to replay the campaign before I finish writing it, but I, like many others, were disappointed in various ways. But unlike many others, I see potential in the game. I believe Crystal Dynamics can fix this broken mess. I want to quickly give a reference to what is a successful relaunch of a game, and the best example I know of is Star Wars Battlefront 2. Comparing the two, I realize that they have some very interesting similarities. Pointing to Battlefront 2, it had a progression system which needed to be fixed. It relied on a pay-to-win scenario which was removed before launch, but its shattered pieces remained in the game for some time. It eventually was able to rework its progression system and then began working on massive updates like Geonosis. The main issue people had was the loot boxes and broken progression. The multiplayer was competitive and didn't feel the same all the time. All they needed to do after that was just add more content, heroes, villains, maps, modes. All those were delivered upon greatly. But looking back to Avengers, I begin to see more problems that need to be fixed beforehand. The gear system is a bit too clunky and complicated. As many people said, it really didn't feel like changing the hero much. I myself see managing the gear more as a chore instead of something I want to do. This means there are some changes to the gear system needed, but that is not the main issue. The main issue with Marvel's Avengers is, for me, the repetitive game design. Missions feel the same. There isn't enough interesting objectives at all to differentiate each mission. Luckily, it is easy to say Crystal Dynamics has heard these concerns. They have heard a lot of these. They've delayed content for more internal testing, they have changed heroes in certain ways due to requests, and even more fan-requested changes are in the works. Since people see the delays as a bad sign, judging by how they have said it, they want to make sure new content is as polished as possible. I know people are tired of waiting, so am I. I want to play Kate Bishop, but I think the wait will be worth it. We won't have to worry about the various crashes or bugs because they are spending the time to fix those, which I respect them for that. It is going to help them in the long run. After finishing the reassembled campaign, the only thing that kept me playing was the combat. But the game crashed almost every time I played it, which made it hard to enjoy the game. But since then, they have fixed a lot of these issues, which shouldn't have been there in the first place, but hey, at least they're acknowledging them. There are 4 main factors, which I considered to be the 4 things that saved Battlefront 2. Number 1, time. The developer teams at DICE released content on a pretty constant basis after getting their footing with the Geonosis update. The separate teams also had enough time to make sure each update was quality and the work paid off. Number 2, quality and innovation. Players are going to keep playing if the new content is good, but the second part of this point is innovation, which makes this content different. The new content not only has to be good, but also it makes itself look different from the others with new mechanics and such. When Droidekas were brought into Battlefront 2, they not only were just a new type of reinforcement, but they also used unique mechanics, notably the ability to transform into a ball and all that. We need to see that with Avengers. Sort of in the way of a gimmick, this new update introduces a teleporting character, or something that makes each update look different. Number 3, communication. Leading up to new content for Battlefront 2, the developer teams would tease their updates. They would always be answering questions and responding to the players. Letting the developers know what the players want is a must with a live service game, because you want to keep your player base active while introducing new stuff to bring in more people. And Avengers has somewhat done that. We have developer live streams almost weekly, and they answer a lot of questions, and it is helping as we are in a content drought. Not by much though, but it is something. Hopefully as time goes on, we get more news on stuff, and I hope news on the next war table is soon. Number 4, improvements. In order for a game to finish its redemption, it needs to fix the fundamental flaws it has had since the beginning. Once again, going back to Battlefront 2. It had a broken progression system, but it had the basics for a great multiplayer experience, but the bare bones progression system took it down. Within a year, they had already launched their new progression system, which was good. And they had already started adding more skins, which players wanted, while also adding new content like Obi-Wan Kenobi and General Grievous. Avengers does have many flaws which do need to be fixed as well. Performance issues and bugs have been a major issue. Luckily, since launch, they have been squashed pretty well. The game has many issues, like an unrewarding gear system, boring endgame content, and most of all, boring and repetitive mission design. Recently on the developer livestream that they did say they are considering a gear overhaul, which probably means the same for endgame loot, but we are yet to hear about the new mission design. If they had heard our complaints, they probably are working to do that for the future heroes. I wouldn't expect major changes for the missions when it comes to Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, considering they are close to completion, but for characters like Black Panther, where they probably are still designing his missions, they could easily change stuff up to make sure the missions are funner and introduce new objective mechanics. Now here we go, answering the final question. Can Crystal Dynamics save Avengers? The game that disappointed a vast majority of its audience, the game that had lost millions of dollars. Some ask if it is even possible for the production of the new content to continue when it was such a loss. I believe Crystal Dynamics will be able to save this game. They've already showed dedication and care. They have listened to the community. We're just waiting for the content, and hopefully it'll be good. I believe this could just be a phase, like when it was for the first 6 months of Battlefront 2, where there was almost nothing new. Now because of the multi-million-dollar loss the game had for Square Enix, I won't be surprised if they're drowning developers away from the game. Crystal Dynamics has already begun work on another game. They could be putting more developers into that, so it can get quicker, so hopefully it can get them money. We'll see how this goes, and as I've said before, I'm no businessman, but if Avengers is doing well with the marketplace and selling all that, they're gonna keep it up, but I don't know if they will. I hope they do. But yes, I do think Crystal Dynamics can fix Marvel's Avengers. It will be a long road before that happens, but if they put in the time and quality content into it, I could expect Avengers to have a revival that could be as amazing as Battlefront 2's. Will this happen? Yes, I do. I have faith in Crystal Dynamics. I believe they can bring people back to this game. And if it doesn't happen, then, well, I move on and just play another game because this is the way. Anyways, stay reassembled and have a fun day.